Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive.
Definitely.
Awesome. Today we're tackling a legend, Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan.
Oh, wow, a musical giant.
Absolutely. And we've got something special, an interview with the maestro himself.
You're kidding, really?
Yeah, a rare glimpse into his life, his music, everything that made him a global icon.
I've always loved his work, but to hear him talk about it, that's amazing.
Right. It's so different from just reading about someone. This is straight from the source.
Totally. I'm ready to dive in.
Me too. Let's start at the beginning. His childhood in Faisalabad, Pakistan.
Okay.
Did you know that he was practicing his singing, like, even while taking baths as a kid?
Wait, seriously?
Yeah, talk about dedication.
Wow. I mean, that kind of shows his passion from the very start.
Totally. And it makes sense considering his family's musical legacy.
Right. His father, Ustad Fateh Ali Khan, was a big name in Qawwali.
Exactly. That influence is huge. But here's a twist.
What's that?
His name wasn't originally Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan.
Huh, interesting.
It was a Sufi saint who saw his potential and told the family to change it.
Ah, that connection to Sufism. That explains so much about his music.
It does, right? But for those who might not be familiar with Sufism.
Sure, it's a mystical branch of Islam that's all about, a personal experience with the divine.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that comes through in music, like whirling dances, poetry.
Yeah.
And you can definitely feel that in Khan's work.
It's that spiritual element that's just so powerful.
Absolutely.
So, okay, we've got this young boy, clearly talented, but how does he go from Faisalabad to worldwide fame?
Right, it's not an overnight thing.
No way.
He spends years really honing his craft, mostly performing in Pakistan initially.
Got it.
But his music, rooted in Qawwali, it had this universal appeal that crossed borders.
Qawwali, for those of us who might be less familiar.
Oh, yeah, of course. So Qawwali, it's like this intense improvisational music, really devotional.
Yep.
It's part of the Sufi tradition. You usually have a lead singer, a chorus, and instruments like the harmonium and tabla.
Okay, I'm starting to get the picture.
And the music, it builds and builds, lots of intricate rhythms, call and response, and those incredible vocals. It's like meant to transport everyone, performers and the audience, into this ecstatic state.
So that explains his super long concerts. But how did his music, which was mostly in Punjabi, connect with people all over the world who didn't understand the words?
That's the thing about Khan. His voice, it had this raw emotion, this power,
Yeah.
He had incredible range and stamina, but more than that, he poured his heart and soul into every note.
It sounds like it.
He even mentions in the interview that people would come up to him, moved by his music, even without knowing what the words meant.
Wow, that's incredible. And there's that story, right? His voice being so powerful during a recording session with Peter Gabriel that it actually crashed the computer.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Is there any truth to that?
Well, whether the computer actually crashed or not, who knows? But the story really shows how intense his voice was.
Yeah.
Qawwali singers use these specific techniques, breath control, projection, all these subtle inflections, and it lets them hold those notes forever and create this sound that's just, both powerful and moving.
So it wasn't just being loud. It was the way he used his voice, along with the emotion in the music.
Precisely.
And that's what caught the attention of Western artists like Peter Gabriel, leading to those amazing collaborations.
Totally.
And those collaborations, they introduced Qawwali to a global audience.
For sure.
But it was more than just, breaking into the Western market. It was this genuine exchange of musical ideas and style.
Oh, absolutely. But those collaborations, they weren't always seen in a positive light.
Oh, really?
Yeah, some people, they worried that it would water down the spiritual side of Qawwali.
I can see that.
Or even that it was like taking the tradition and using it to make money,
That's a valid concern. How did Khan address that?
Well, he always said that his main goal was to share the beauty of Qawwali with everyone. He saw those collaborations as a way to bridge cultures, to introduce this rich music to people who might never have heard it otherwise.
Right, like opening a door to a whole new world.
Exactly. And it's clear he had a lot of respect for those Western artists he worked with.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in the interview, he talks about admiring people like Peter Gabriel, their talent and their openness to different sounds.
He was willing to learn from them, too.
Absolutely. It wasn't about just doing traditional Qawwali in a Western setting.
Right, right.
He was experimenting, blending in rock, electronic music, even orchestral stuff.
Wow. pushing those boundaries.
Exactly. And both Qawwali and Western music, they were changed by it. Like, think about his work on Dead Man Walking.
Oh, yeah, that soundtrack.
It was so haunting, so different from anything most Western audiences had ever heard.
Yeah, I can see why that would have a big impact.
It really was a turning point for him, putting him on the international stage even more.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
It showed how versatile he was, how he could adapt his music but keep that emotional core.
Exactly.
And even with all that global recognition, he never forgot where he came from.
Absolutely not.
He kept performing traditional Qawwali, drawing huge crowds, not just in Pakistan, but all over.
He never lost touch with those roots.
And that Sufi tradition, it was always there in his music.
Oh, yeah, totally.
In the interview, he talked about the importance of prayer.
Okay.
He believed that his success was, divinely guided.
Interesting.
He even tells this story like a turning point early on. He goes on this pilgrimage to the Sufi shrine of Ajmer Sharif.
Wow.
And he and his family, they pray for his musical journey.
That's powerful stuff.
Right. You can really see how spirituality wasn't separate from his music. It was part of his life.
It wasn't just a show. It was something deeper.
It was about connecting with something bigger than himself and sharing that with the world.
And that's where the power of his music comes from.
Yeah.
It's not just about being technically brilliant or even just expressing emotions.
It's more than that.
It's about transcendence, tapping into something universal that touches people on a soul level.
He talks about music as this language that goes beyond words.
I can see that.
He tells a story about people asking him to explain his lyrics, and he says they already understood through the emotion in his voice.
Exactly. Qawwali, at its core, it's about reaching this state of spiritual ecstasy. And that feeling goes beyond any language.
It's about the feeling, the rhythm, the melody, all of it.
Right. And letting it take you somewhere else.
And it wasn't just his voice, it was the whole thing.
What do you mean?
The way he interacted with the musicians, the call and response, the instruments.
Yeah.
It all created this energy, this feeling that everyone was on a journey together.
It was immersive.
Exactly.
There was spontaneity, improvisation within the tradition, keeping the music fresh. And his energy, it was contagious.
I bet.
You can see it in the videos of his concerts, the way he'd clap, move to the rhythm, get the audience involved.
It makes sense that his concerts went on for hours. It wasn't just a concert, it was an experience.
Right. And it's that feeling, being swept away by the music, that still captivates people today. Even if they don't know Qawwali or Sufism, they can feel that power, the raw emotion, the spiritual longing.
It's amazing how music can break down those cultural walls and connect us on such a human level. And his impact on music globally, it's pretty remarkable.
Oh, for sure. He really helped other South Asian artists, get noticed.
Yeah, definitely.
And he opened people's minds to music from that part of the world.
It wasn't just about, world music anymore.
Exactly. He proved that music rooted in a specific culture could still connect with everyone.
And it went beyond individual artists too, right?
Definitely. His collaborations, they helped people understand and appreciate Qawwali as an art form.
Not just something like exotic or whatever.
Right. It became something to really listen to study, to respect.
And that collaboration, that willingness to bring different musical worlds together, that was so important to him.
Absolutely. It wasn't about competition. It was about sharing and growing.
He even talks about admiring Indian singers in the interview.
Like who?
Like Lata Mangeshkar, Asha Bhosle. He really appreciated different talents.
Wow, that's great. That open-mindedness, that's what makes him so special. He wasn't just a performer. He was a musical ambassador.
He saw music as something that could unite people,
Yeah, totally. Bridge those cultural and political divides.
And he even planned to work with Madonna at one point.
Seriously?
Yeah, imagine that. It shows how open he was to pushing boundaries.
Qawwali meets pop music. That would have been wild.
It makes you wonder what else he could have done if.
Yeah. It's sad to think about.
But his legacy, it lives on, bigger than just his own work.
Definitely.
Yeah.
He inspired so many musicians, both in South Asia and globally.
To embrace their roots and to explore new possibilities.
That fusion of different styles, it's incredible.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you want our listener to take away?
I'd say go explore his music. Really dive in. Don't just stop at the hits,
Go deeper.
Exactly. Listen to his traditional Qawwali, his collaborations, all of it.
Soak it all in.
Let yourself feel the emotion, the spirituality, the power of his voice. It's an experience.
And it reminds us music can connect us in a way that Sometimes words just can't.
That's it. Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan's music is a gift.
It really is.
It shows the power of creativity and the beauty of different cultures coming together.
So go out there, listen, and let the music take you somewhere new.
Exactly. That's what it's all about.